Do you want to learn a simple collage? Something that is like this? Anybody can do this. If you can trace, you can do this. Stay tuned. Welcome back, friends. I'm Susan Clifton. If you haven't been here before, I'm an artist in residence at Baca in Pompano Beach, Florida. We are a community arts center, and we have these small studios, and then like once a month we have open house. So I really love being here. If you're not familiar with my work, I do positive thoughts on fabric that is then incorporated into a hand or a body. It's done in a mosaic pattern, a fabric mosaic pattern, as a matter of fact. And so that's similar to what we're going to be doing today. We're going to do a simple collage with white type on black and not shades of gray to make things complicated, but anybody can do this. If you can trace, you can do this. Hey there, don't forget, give me a thumbs up. And if you like tutorials or art marketing videos, then please subscribe to my channel. So before we get started working on this tutorial, I want to show you, this was the original painting of Peace. That's my husband's hand that I photographed, and I put the word peace across the top, cropped off like I usually do. And what I do when I take the photograph and turn it into a black and white in certain areas, I do a lot of this in Photoshop, and then I sort of separate that black and white image into about 6 or 7 different shades of gray. That way I know where the different fabric mosaic pieces need to go. So today's tutorial is going to be a much simplified version of the peace symbol. It's just going to be a silhouette with some black fabric with white type. But I just wanted to give you a little bit of background about what I usually do. This is my normal art practice, and for the last couple of years I was doing almost exclusively hands, and I'm trying to get more into bodies these days, but I'm still gonna do hands occasionally. So one of the things that I was thinking about when I came up with the idea of peace, I didn't want it to be about world peace and, you know, I mean, let's face it, can we really ever achieve world peace? I'm beginning to wonder. But there's personal peace. There's that peace within you that I think we all struggle with. And if we have that peace, then what's going on externally in the world, in the country, you know, in our city, in our whatever, in our family, it doesn't matter because you're at peace. So that was really what the idea of this painting was. So these are the words or the thoughts, phrases, whatever you want to call it, inside those little pieces of fabric. Worry does not take away tomorrow's troubles. It takes away today's peace. Be the peace you seek. Make peace with the moment. Find the contentment that is within the core of your being. To find peace, calm and quiet, we must collaborate. Toss aside conflict and find love in our hearts for all. Give peace a chance. So what the plan is to do something like this. So I'm going to trace this onto a small blackboard. It's 6 inches by 6 inches, and I'm going to trace that onto there. I've used my Cricut to create the word peace, and I have that here. You'll see that when I place it down. And I am going to paint the background like a sky blue. Maybe put some clouds in there or something very peaceful. And then I printed my fabric on Jacquard cotton fabric. It's a paper-backed product that I then peel the paper off, and I have fabric. So I get this at Blick. I don't know if you can get it, actually walk into an art supply store and buy it. I've never been able to. I always have to buy it on Blick and then wait for it to be shipped. Hate that part. but I wish they had it in store, but they don't. If you know of any stores that sell it in store, I think it's a great craft product. They really should sell it. Somebody should tell Michaels, right? Anyway, so this is what I'm going to cut up to put inside of the hand. Okay. Okay, so I have this that I created on the Cricut, and I'm going to transfer this to the top of my board where I have already traced my fingers, my peace symbol. So now I have to use a little of the transfer tape to transfer peace onto this board. Got my little tools. I have two of them. This harder one I think works better for this. Okay. So now okay. Oop, wrong one. All right, so I'm going to slowly peel this away. And while I'm peeling it away, I have to make sure that my letters, because they're kind of a fine letter, they have these little serifs that want to stay on this sticky back thing. So anyway, we got to make sure. This is always very challenging, this part. I'm still not very good at this, but it gets me the results that I want in a faster amount of time, because if I had to carefully paint around and sort of hand letter the type, geez, I'd be working for hours, especially with this small fine serifs and everything. So this is the best way to achieve these results. For some reason, it's not cooperating today. Maybe my transfer material is getting old or something. I don't know. Okay, so there we go. So now I have to make sure that I'm centered. So I'm going to get my little ruler out, and as you can see, I'm going to have the fingers kind of overlapping the text. And I want to make sure that I'm centered. I eyeball things really well. It's from my years of working in graphic design. Okay, so now I'm going to burnish it back down again. And now I have to peel off the transfer. And this, for some reason, is a little easier. So now I am ready to paint my background. Okay, so my first layer is going to be a very light blue, but I'm going to blend so that the top part is a little bit darker. And I just want to get like an undercoat on here. And lightly dab around the type so that it doesn't go underneath it. And I'll go in with a smaller brush and go neatly around the fingers. I'm going to start bringing in some darker blue at the top, and I'm just going to do a quick application of this. Now I'm going to have to probably go in and touch up with some black paint and make that edge around the fingers a little bit neater. But I don't want to concern myself just yet with all of that, because right now I just want to get a nice blend here, and sometimes you can't be so careful. And I have these other larger brushes here because I could use them to blend and feather. And I can also bring in some more of this lighter color and blend some more. You want to get, the sky is not just solid blue, so you want to get variations in your blue, and you can blend it nicely, or if you like the brush strokes, you can just leave them. And then we're going to go back in with a little bit of white and make some clouds. Sometimes when your paint dries, you have to add a little bit more so that you can blend your blues better. So I'm using this darker blue. Is just cobalt blue right out of the bottle, and this is fluid acrylic that I'm using. I think we have a nice graduated tone going there. And now we can probably start by putting in some white. Just want some wispy white clouds. You might have to layer the white. This brush is too thick. I didn't like what it was doing. I'm going to let it dry a little bit so that, because right now if I add and blend, it sort of blends in with the blue. So I am going to let it dry a little bit. And then add more white to give my clouds some dimension. Okay, so I'm continuing to layer in white. And now what I've decided to do is include some a really dark transparent blue to kind of give my clouds a little more dimension. And this is called Phthalo Blue Green shade. And it's very transparent, and I'm going to take most of the paint off my brush because I just want to use very, very little of it. And I just want to dab it in certain areas, and then if I have to remove it, I can also remove it with a dry brush. So it's kind of like just at the edge of the clouds. So I'm going to add a little bit more white. Where's my brush with my white? You really need to make sure that your brush is kind of dry, because when it's too wet like this, it really doesn't look very good. So this phthalo color really goes a long way. It's very dark, very transparent, mixes well with other colors, and if you want to use it like I'm using it, you have to really use it very sparingly and then layer on top of it. And just put it on the edge of your brush. Okay, so I'm going to let this dry. This is what we have so far. I'm going to let it dry. I'm going to touch up the black with my black gesso. And then we will be back to work on the mosaic. Okay, part two. So now we're going to try to peel off the letters and pray that they didn't bleed. Ah, very nice. A little bit of bleed. It's a lot quicker to touch up than it is to paint the entire thing. So there is a little bit of bleed, and you can see that, but I can always touch that up with a little black gesso. In the meantime, I am going to start working on my fabric mosaic. So this is my gel medium, and I am going to use my little fabric wheel. First I'm going to start by taking off this white edge. Oh, I think I need a new blade. It's skipping a beat. Let me try to find another one. Okay, this blade works better. So as you can see, that's the result we want. So now I'm going to use the brush that I always put this blue at the bottom to remind me that this is my gel medium brush. And I'm going to start just gluing pieces to the bottom, working my way up. Your pieces don't have to be too small. You know, you can make them really tiny if you want, but then people can't read any of the words. So try to at least let them see a peek of what the words say, and let them use their imagination for the rest. And this doesn't have to be with words. You can also do anything. You can find some fabric at the fabric store and just do some kind of pattern. It doesn't have to be type. It's a fun technique. It's fast and it's different. So I always start with putting a little bit on the board, and then you'll notice I put some more on top. You want to make sure it's really stuck on there. And trust me, once it dries, it's not coming off unless you're soaking it in alcohol. So the fingers are more narrow, and you might have to do, you could pick out some phrases maybe in the type and sort of run them vertically. So let's see, find peace. Let's just grab that. So that people can see that that's what it's all about. I'm going to put it along the edge here. You can see just enough of piece of chance. I think people know that it's give peace a chance. They can always use their imagination, fill in the blanks. And sometimes your pieces don't fit, so you have to recut them. This is why my larger pieces take so long, because I'm constantly trying to find the perfect piece or the perfect spot, especially since I'm doing shades of gray, so it has to be, I have to make sure first of all that I've got the right shade or it's not going to translate correctly. But you could see this, because it's single color, it's going really fast, and it's also small. And eventually it becomes like a puzzle. I need to find a piece that fits. Let me cut that a little bit better. So you see I'm going right over where the letters are. I want to give the illusion that the fingers are in front of the type. There you go. So now I'm going to let it dry. And stay tuned, because I'm going to have a little tip on how we can make this look better by making it glossier without having to do a resin pour. I have an interesting experiment that I did once, and I really loved the result. I'm going to show that to you in a minute. Okay, so I've touched up my letters. I've signed the side because I decided that it was going to be too busy on the front. So I signed the side. You can decide whether or not you want to sign yours. But anyway, so now it's a little flat looking, I want to punch up the colors a little bit. And so I have this tip for you. You don't have to do a resin pour to make this really pop. But we can also make it look kind of glossy. So I'm going to show you that right now. So what do we use? We're going to use pouring medium. This is by Liquitex. Liquitex pouring medium. I don't know if it works with any other brand, so with this one it works. I'm going to brush this on right out of the bottle. Nothing else, just brush this on, let it settle, and I'm done. Okay, so I'm just pouring, and then I'm just going to use an inexpensive brush and brush it around. Make sure your paint, of course, is very dry. And any extra, you could just sort of let it run off. I'm going to use it on the sides. I think I poured a little too much. I've also used this on prints that I glued to a box and then poured this on top of it to make the whole thing nice and glossy. You want to smooth it out so it doesn't look like you have areas that are not covered. Just make sure, and you don't want any bubbling, so you want to make sure you don't have any like thick areas. And that's it. It is sort of dripping down the side, so I'm going to make sure I don't have any drips. So was that a good tip? I really was, I don't know, pleasantly surprised. I was playing with pouring mediums a couple of years ago with my goddaughter, and then afterwards I thought, I wonder what happens when you just use this without any paint mixed with it, like what happens? And so I tried it on a test board that I had, and I was very surprised at how nicely it dried. And it still shows it kind of like settles into the crevices of the fabric mosaic, and so it keeps its texture, but it gives it a nice sheen. And it's a lot easier than mixing resin and doing the whole resin pour, which will take away the texture, and I didn't want that. So again, pouring medium just as an outer coat and nice and shiny. Well, that's it for today. Thanks for stopping by. Please come again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.